Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're throwing on our lead investigator hats to completely deconstruct a workplace injury report from Evergreen Demolition. We're going to sift through the paperwork, examine the evidence, and figure out what actually happened on the job site on April 17th, 2026. Because, as investigators, our goal isn't just to see who got hurt. It's to dig deep and uncover the systemic breakdowns that allowed it to happen in the very first place.
So, to understand how a routine floor tile removal ended with a trip to the medic, we're going to walk through 5 steps: the incident and injury, establishing the timeline, the mechanics of the accident, a cause mapping analysis, and finally, systemic safety failures. Let's get right into it.
Step 1. The incident and injury. All right, our investigation starts right here with the immediate human cost. This is Ashish Mehta, a laborer who goes by Ash. What you're looking at is the aftermath of a nasty pinch and cut injury to his right middle finger. It resulted in a pretty bad laceration and a broken fingernail. Now, they got him cleaned up and bandaged on site before sending him to a medic, but when I see an injury like this, it instantly tells me that a physical safeguard completely failed.
Let's anchor ourselves with the cold, hard facts. The date? April 17th, 2026. The employer is Evergreen Demolition Limited, and the location is the Abbotsford International Airport. We've got one injured worker. Okay, the scene is set. Now we need to start working backward.
Which brings us to step 2, establishing the timeline.
The timeline always tells a compelling story, and this morning was no different. At 8 a.m. sharp, the crew arrives and the worker and supervisor discuss the plan. Barely 18 minutes later, at 8:18, a field-level hazard assessment is signed off. By 9 a.m., the actual tile removal begins. Then we fast forward. At exactly 12:05 p.m., the machine moves unexpectedly, and bam, the injury happens. Now, as investigators, we live for discrepancies, right? And here, we found a massive gap between the paperwork and the reality on the ground. Check this out. At 8:18 a.m., that hazard assessment was signed, and it literally called out pinch points as a hazard. So they absolutely knew the danger was there. But by the time work actually kicked off at 9 a.m., Ashish hadn't been briefed on the specific safe job procedure for working near mobile equipment. He never even signed it. The hazard was documented, sure, but the procedure to actually survive it? Never communicated.
And that glaring discrepancy forces us to pivot. We have to stop just collecting facts and ask the real question. Where exactly did the safety protocol break down? The paperwork was literally sitting right there, but the worker was left entirely unprepared. Step 3, mechanics of the accident. Let's look at the physical sequence of events.
If you look at the floor tile removal area here, you can see the exposed concrete underneath. Ashish was manually clearing debris right next to an active, powered electric floor scraper when it all went sideways. Just picture it. A heavy, motorized machine aggressively scraping up dark tiles, and right beside it, a worker bending down to clear the rubble with his bare hands. And that right there is the physical cause of the injury. It's the exact pinch point hazard they wrote down that morning. The report states the electric floor scraper suddenly lunged forward. Because Ashish was directly in the line of fire, his right middle finger was violently caught between the heavy metal components of the scraper and the solid floor tiles. Just a sudden, brutal mechanical pinch.
Moving on to step 4, cause mapping analysis.
Okay, this is where the investigation gets really fascinating. By tracking the why chain backward, the whole picture comes into focus. Step 1, we have the impact to safety, the pinched finger. Why did that happen? Step 2, his finger was in the line of fire and the machine unexpectedly moved. Well, why was he in the line of fire? Step 3, he was manually picking up tiles in a blind spot while the machine had incredibly imprecise controls. And why was that happening? Step 4, they were trying to speed up the process. The operator was hyper-focused on the blade so he wouldn't damage the floor, completely missing the worker hiding in his blind spot. So it wasn't just some freak accident, right? It was a perfect storm of rushing, bad sightlines, and misdirected focus.
Finally, step 5, systemic safety failures.
The most immediate failure we found comes down to what the worker did versus what he was actually supposed to do. Ashish used his bare hands to pull up the tiles and clear debris right next to heavy machinery. But the required safe action? He should have been using a shovel. If he had the right tool for the job, the handle of the shovel takes the hit when the machine jerks forward, not a human hand. But when we start categorizing the contributing factors for the official report, the responsibility shifts much higher up the chain. Under work task, the crew just straight up didn't follow the safe work practice near mobile equipment.
mostly because nobody actually communicated it to them. Under equipment, yeah, the worker used his hands instead of a shovel, but look at personnel. This is the kicker. The foreman, Art Washburn, was right there. He's literally listed as a witness. Yet he completely failed to enforce the safe work practice or any control measures. The supervisor literally stood there and watched the unsafe act happen. Eventually, this investigation report was finalized and signed off by the Health and Safety Manager, Nathan Vasquez, and the Joint Health and Safety Committee member, Kaylee Franken. You can see their signatures here, dated May 5th, 2026. This officially closed the bureaucratic loop. They successfully documented all the failures, well, after the fact. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a final thought to chew on. Think back to that signature at 8:18 a.m. on the morning of the accident. A signature proves a piece of paper was signed. It proves a hazard was acknowledged. But without active, real-world communication of the procedures, without using the proper tools, and without a supervisor actively enforcing safety on the ground, are we really preventing the next accident? Or are we just generating paperwork for the next investigation report? Thanks for joining me on this deep dive. Stay safe out there.